Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it truly is the most wonderful time of the year, and no, I'm not talking about Christmas. The Premier League season is upon us, and like the majority of other YouTubers who have tried their hand in creating football-related content, I'm obligated by an unspoken law that I must create an official, in-detail prediction for the forthcoming season, which will inevitably be far off the actual proceedings, and in turn be mocked relentlessly. Hello everybody, my name is The Quick Take, and if you're new here, why not subscribe? At 15,000 subscribers, I'll be giving away 3 King of London lightsabers, courtesy of ownersaber.com. All you have to do to enter is subscribe to the channel and check the pinned comment down below. And with that, on with the video. I will, of course, start off with my take on how I think the Premier League table will stand with all said and done, going from bottom to top, before moving on to individual predictions such as Golden Boot, Golden Glove, Biggest Flop, etc, etc. In every race, there must be a loser. In this case, it's Sheffield United. Sheffield have endured what can only be described as a pretty lackluster preseason, and haven't really made any signings of note which could make them a half-formidable opponent. I really think Sheffield United will struggle to win more than 4 games this season, and I can easily see the club failing to reach 25 points all out. They are simply not ready for the ruthlessness that is the Premier League, especially after losing their best player, Ndiaye, who scored 14 goals and achieved 10 assists to Marseille on a free transfer. Sheffield United, 20th. Following Sheffield back down to the Championship is Luton Town, another side which is unprepared for the level of football that they will be up against in the Premier League. Their story to the Premier League is noteworthy, there's no denying, but the club as a whole just doesn't have the resources needed to compete against the likes of Crystal Palace, Wolves and Arsenal. It doesn't help that the club lacks the financial resources to strengthen their team. For reference, their stadium, Kenilworth Road, has a capacity of 10,356, the lowest capacity of any stadium in the history of the Premier League. I do think the acquisition of Ross Barkley on a free transfer is a good move, but far from enough. Luton Town, 19th. The last spot for relegation is actually pretty hard for me to decide. I watched James Lawrence's Old Cots prediction video a few days ago and I agreed with him on a lot of points, this being one of them. To me, it's between Everton, who came close to falling into the relegation zone last season, Wolves, who have just sacked Lopetegui days before the start of the new season, and who have lost key players in Ruben Neves, Nathan Collins and Connor Cody, and finally, Brighton. No, the last one was a lie, but I do think, and bear with me, Crystal Palace could find themselves involved in a relegation scrap. If I had to pick one of the 3, it's Everton. I'm looking at their squad and I struggle to feel any confidence in their ability to score enough goals to get them enough points to stay up. In terms of players they brought in, it's underwhelming. Ashley Young on a free for a year and Danjuma for a season-long loan, far from enough. I don't know if the stadium project has sapped funds from investing in the first team, but the lack of investment can really have a major knock-on effect for the rest of the season. Wolves will be disjointed for a while, but I do believe if they find momentum, they can pick up enough points to stay up, and Crystal Palace, in my opinion, are 1 or 2 injuries away from being in a bit of trouble, especially with Elise's move away likely. So, 18th place is Everton. Sorry, Kian. 17th place can go to Wolves. As I've just said, sacking the manager days before the start of the season, plus the loss of key players, will leave the side reeling, disjointed and looking rough. I do think they can find some form, and that will be the difference between staying up and going down. 17th place is Wolves. Next up is Chelsea's next door neighbour, Fulham. I don't think they will fill into a relegation scrap. Their first team is too strong. Mitrovic looks to be staying after a £25 million bid from Al Hilal last month was rejected, although this was a tempting offer for the striker, potentially negatively impacting his concentration for the season ahead. And of course, injury problems can plague any team at any time. João Palhinha, a key component, is currently injured and will miss the first few games of the season. And that's why I've got Fulham in 16th place. Moving on swiftly to 15th place with Nottingham Forest. A slight improvement from last season where they finished 16th. I do think the wealth of signings they made last season will have settled now. Steve Cooper will have a greater understanding of his best 11. I think Morgan Gibbs-White is a needle mover and they'll do very well to exist as a solid mid-table side. You expect to beat them, but every now and then they may impress you. Nottingham Forest, 15th. 14th place, and this could be controversial, but it's West Ham. It's always difficult to lose a captain, even more so if it's Declan Rice. They have brought in Edson Alvarez from Ajax, who's very good in the air, completes a lot of passes and clearances, but that was in the Dutch league, and as we all know, the Premier League is a different kettle of fish altogether. This is a very important season for West Ham. I feel like they're about to transition into a new era of the club's history, but they need to take their time. Finishing 14th wouldn't be the worst outcome, better than getting relegated. West Ham, 14th. 13th place is Crystal Palace. Palace this season can go one of two ways in my opinion. They lose Olise and potentially Eze to injury or a January move and they get caught up in a relegation battle, or Eze stays fit, they reinforce the squad in January and they coast to lucky number 13. Another component to Crystal Palace's success or lack thereof is Roy Hodgson. I'll be very surprised if he gets to the end of the season. He's 76, he's been coaching since 1976. I think he should be at home in his slippers watching the team he's given so much to, taking it easy. The change of manager could also cause some disruption, which may cause Palace to slip further down the table. Crystal Palace, 13th. It's time to get serious now with Bournemouth in 12th. Last season, it was a gap of just 5 points that separated Bournemouth from 15th and Chelsea in 12th. They have made some smart signings. Max Aarons and Alex Scott I like, with Bournemouth paying Bristol £22 million for Alex Scott's services. Marcus Tavernier, although out with a knock, I think will be a very important player for the Cherries. It'll be interesting to see how head coach Andoni Iraola will do in his first season. Definitely one to keep an eye on. 12th, Bournemouth. Coming in at 11th is the returning Burnley. Burnley had a phenomenal season in the Championship, finishing on 101 points all out, losing just 3 games. The team is full of depth. Vincent Kompany is doing very well with the somewhat limited budget he has. Having worked with Pep Guardiola as a player for a number of years, it's clear to see he's learnt a thing or two. They've got a very interesting start to the season, playing City on their opening game. A game which can really set the tone as to how the season will go. For me, I think they're riding a tsunami wave of momentum and good feeling which can help massively avoid heads dropping when times get tough, and that's why I have Burnley at 11th. 10th now, and it's Tottenham because why not? 9th next, no hang on, let me explain myself. Although Ange Postecoglou comes across as a great man manager, I think he's in for the shock of his life when it comes to life as a Premier League coach. Coming from Celtic can give someone a false sense of ability. Having lived in Scotland for many years and been around Scottish football, all you have to do is get past Rangers and the league is yours. Harry Kane has now signed for Bayern Munich. James Maddison is a good signing, but I have a sneaking feeling he could get hit by a pretty bad injury and miss a few months of football. Mystic TQT. They brought in Kulusevski on a permanent deal. I like that. I rate Kulusevski highly, along with signing Mickey van der Ven from Wolfsburg, adding to the defensive structure. I just think the other 9 teams are better set out. We'll see better form throughout the season compared to Spurs, who could see another managerial appointment. Spurs at 10th. Coming in at 9th is Brentford. Thomas Frank is a brilliant manager. Last season, his Brentford side finished only 3 points behind the well-respected Brighton, a testament to his coaching ability. Losing Ivan Toney for half the season is certainly a factor. If he didn't have a crippling gambling addiction, I would have placed Brentford higher up the table. Although Brian Mbeumo is a fantastic player who I think will level up again this season. I do still see plenty of goals in this Brentford side, even without Ivan Toney, who look to have established themselves as one of the more difficult opponents in the league. 9th for Brentford. Coming in at 8th now, and it's Unai Emery's Aston Villa. This is where things start to become really difficult to sort out, as 8th, 7th and 6th can all easily swap positions with each other as a result of a single loss, a lucky draw or a plucky win. But I have gone with Aston Villa in 8th. Where I think Emery failed with Arsenal is Arsenal needed a reset, a culling of deadwood, and their expectations were far higher. Towards the end of the season, Chelsea were really starting to play fluid, clean football under Sarri with Eden Hazard running the show. At Aston Villa, although there is an expectation for improvement, Emery has been given a lot more freedom, somewhat similarly to what Jose Mourinho is doing with Roma. Ollie Watkins is a superb striker, and with Diaby coming in, Villa are going to score for fun. Villa do have European football for next season, but I don't think this will have a negative impact on their league performance. They certainly have the squad depth to cope with the extra games. 8th, Aston Villa. At 7th, I have Brighton. Ah yes, Brighton. In the past few years, Brighton have come a long way, a trajectory set by Graham Potter, God bless his soul. Following Potter's move to Chelsea, Brighton brought in Robert De Zerbi, and somehow he managed to turn an already overperforming side into a genuine threat for European competition. De Zerbi's got them playing a really attractive style of football. Their ability to play out from the back whilst under great amounts of pressure is fascinating and a real treat to watch. I do expect a drop off from last season, however, following Levy Cole's return to Chelsea after really coming into his own at Brighton, along with Moises Caicedo, who looks to be joining either Liverpool or Chelsea, a real presence in the midfield. And that's why I think Brighton will finish 7th. Coming in at 6th place now and making their way into the Conference League is Newcastle. Newcastle have enjoyed a meteoric rise following their acquisition by the Saudi PIF, signing players such as Livramento. Harvey Barnes is a great signing, Tonali was unexpected and very impressive. Isaac has been a great player since he's joined. It also helps the squad is working with a manager like Eddie Howe, who really seems to have gotten them singing from the same hymn sheet. Newcastle last season performed to a level I would have expected from Chelsea, scoring a total of 68 goals last season. Callum Wilson with 18. The squad is just filled with talent who are being properly developed and it's showing. However, a big factor for their 6th place position is their involvement in Champions League football, which can be tiring, especially if you're not used to it. But still, I can't see Newcastle dropping any further than 6th, and so that's where I think they'll finish. Coming in at 5th place and qualifying for Europa League football, it's Chelsea. Since Pochettino has taken over, Chelsea look like a team on a mission, a group of individuals working together as one, a far cry from the disjointed mess that was last season. Chelsea have done some really good business this summer in terms of removing deadwood, trimming the size to make a leaner, less bloated squad. In pre-season, Chelsea looked coherent and they were able to do something I haven't seen in a very long time: score goals, and the arrival of Nicholas Jackson has certainly helped this massively. Pochettino has a wealth of experience in growing and developing a young side, bringing them to a position where they can challenge for league titles and play in Champions League finals. If Chelsea are able to make a few more good signings, a new keeper with Kepa looking likely to leave, another striker to compete with Jackson, someone to play behind the striker following Nkunku's injury, and finally a competent defensive partner for Enzo Fernandez in the midfield, Chelsea may look to even get into the top 4. 5th place is respectable considering everything that happened last season. Not having European football will help, as well as it gives Poch ample time to prepare correctly for each game. Chelsea, 5th place. Starting off my top 4 prediction with Ten Hag's Manchester United sneaking ahead of Chelsea. This summer there's been quite a few changes at United. De Gea left after 12 years of service. Mason Mount completed his move from Chelsea, Onana came in from Inter, and Atalanta striker Rasmus Højlund put pen to paper in a really exciting deal from my point of view. I'm an admirer of Højlund. Although he will need a partner up front to bounce off of, he has the potential to become a real force in the Premier League. Ten Hag has certainly been able to get his philosophy across. In past seasons under Ole and Ralph Rangnick, United were a joke at times. The team is well stocked, lots of good depth to help elevate some of the stress caused by European football and cup competitions, in which I think United will go far in, following their triumph to win the League Cup last season. I expect a really solid season from Manchester United. 4th place finish booked in. Coming in at 3rd, it's Liverpool. Now, originally I had Liverpool in 5th and Chelsea in 3rd. That's how impactful I think Moises Caicedo will be to each team. It's a position both sides need to strengthen. I would say Chelsea need Caicedo more though. Liverpool have looked really good in pre-season. They score for fun, with their biggest weakness coming in the amount of goals they let slip through. I think the potential addition of Caicedo could stop a lot of goals which would have leaked through beforehand. Jurgen Klopp, although unlikable to some, is a hell of a coach and can go bar for bar against the powerhouse that is Manchester City. They have lost a key figure in Jordan Henderson. Although he wouldn't have played every game, he would have been a well-respected figure in the dressing room, a voice to be heard. McAllister and Dominic Szoboszlai are really smart signings, adding to an already well-oiled side. I'm a big fan of Szoboszlai. He would have been my number 1 option to replace Mason Mount at Chelsea. I'm going to repeat myself, but if Caicedo goes to Chelsea, swap Liverpool with Chelsea in the table rankings. It's that pivotal. Liverpool, 3rd. And finally, the champions for the 23-24 Premier League season, in my opinion, will be Manchester City, leaving Arsenal in 2nd. I just can't see Manchester City not winning the league, especially after adding Josko Gvardiol, one of, if not the best young centre-backs in world football, to the defence is just, there's no other way to say this, illegal. Haaland will continue his inspiring goal-scoring form, I have no doubt in my mind. There could always be a monumental injury which could turn the league on its head, but if Haaland stays fit, it's City's to lose. It's not just Haaland. City were doing this before the Norwegian arrived. The entire squad has been expertly designed with pinpoint accuracy by Pep to win, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. In terms of Arsenal, who will again finish 2nd, it won't be down to Arsenal underperforming, it will be down to City being dominant. After bringing in Declan Rice and Timber, I do think they've strengthened and there will be a respectable gap between Liverpool or Chelsea in 3rd. but it won't be enough. Arsenal and Manchester City kind of remind me of the UFC featherweight division, where you have a champion in Alexander Volkanovski, who's just an unstoppable force. Nobody in that division can beat him. But just below him, there's Max Holloway, a phenomenal fighter, beautiful striker who's beaten everyone in the division except for Alexander Volkanovski, who they have fought 3 times, and each time Volkanovski has come out on top. So that's my official predictions for the Premier League table, but I'm not done yet. Individual awards still need to be handed out, starting off with the Golden Boot. To me, it's the obvious choice, Erling Haaland. In the eternal words of Stan Lee,
enough said.
The Golden Glove award is, in my opinion, between Ederson and Andre Onana. I do think Manchester City have the better defence and can control games to a greater extent than Manchester United, along with Onana's risky positioning high up the field and on the ball play, which will cost 2 or 3 clean sheets. It's the boring answer, but I think the Golden Glove goes to Ederson. On to the playmaker of the season now, which I will be awarding to Mohamed Salah. The Egyptian has 6 assists this pre-season, playing out wider, bringing more creativity to his side. Liverpool's attack are in full flow. I think Nunes will settle in this season. Maybe he won't be able to compete with Haaland, but I believe he'll be able to find his rhythm, with Salah providing him with chance after chance. Salah to win the Playmaker of the Season award. Manager of the season goes to Pep. Again, is boring. I think the actual manager of the season should go to Pochettino. I believe the Argentinian coach will get Chelsea playing exciting football whilst instilling a new culture within the club, which will be followed for years to come. Pep basically wins the trophy by proxy. Again, boring, but it is what it is. Moving on to a bit more of a fun subject, it's the Flop of the Season award, which I'll be giving to Kai Havertz. Arsenal are such a well-oiled side. Signing Kai Havertz confused me. I think he's somewhat unnecessary, and I think Mikel Arteta will struggle to implement him in a way which doesn't either detract from the side he's nurtured for over the years, or Kai Havertz himself being thrown into a position which isn't his natural position. But to be fair to Arteta, nobody knows where that is. Mason Mount is a contender as well, but I think Havertz will be even more useless. The hidden gem of the season, or the most surprising signing in terms of performance, will be Harvey Barnes at Newcastle. I believe in the Newcastle project. Eddie Howe is building something special, and Harvey Barnes is a really good signing. I don't think many people have any issues with this move. I might be going too far, but I think he'll be just as important as a player like Trippier or Almiron. Big season ahead for Harvey Barnes. Now, the most improved player from last season will be Mykhailo Mudryk. Yes, although he struggled to acclimatise to the Premier League, I do think this was a result of the environment he was walking into. He scored a really nice goal in pre-season, his decision making has been top notch, his pace is a massive asset to the Ukrainian. I can honestly see him reaching double figures in terms of assists, with a good handful of goals added to the mix. Don't sleep on Mudryk this season. And finally, an interesting one, but I have to decide who will be Chelsea's bogey team for the season. I'm talking about the side that no matter how well we play, no matter what kind of form we're in, when we play the side we either forget how to play football or they just walk through us like it's nothing. The bogey team which will haunt Chelsea for the 23-24 season will be Nottingham Forest. I've just got a bad feeling. So that's my attempt at an official Premier League prediction. Before I end, Chelsea and Liverpool's position switches depending on where Caicedo ends up. On Thursday night, Brighton accepted Liverpool's £110 million bid. Since then, Caicedo has informed Liverpool he only wants to join Chelsea. This has been one of the craziest transfer sagas in football history. Let's see what happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll be reading every comment and responding to as many as possible. I've been The Quick Take, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.